We work with the customer lifecycle, and we want to grow the business through efficiency. The philosophy that we have in business ops is growth through operational efficiency. That's the job we have. We try to always have that as at the top of our mind in everything that we do. Is we work with the customer lifecycle, and we want to grow the business through efficiency.
Okay, love that. So I think when we ask about the career, so before we started recording, how we spoke about if someone is specialized in a specific field, normally their operations drives that, or vice versa, how you mentioned, if they want to work on a specific area, maybe they will have a focus in there. But yeah, I like your answer. Okay, second question.
So how my career has impacted it. My background is within IT. So I don't come from sales, which has had an impact because the focus has not been early on in my career. It's not been on business operations, but on business systems and understanding all these systems or these business critical systems. And the operations part just came naturally when growing within these roles and taking ownership of the processes.
Do you think being in IT gives you a lot of technical ability? How does that translate when it comes to like being strategic as well?
It's about, I think it does actually. I think it's about, and I don't think one is better than the other. I think that coming from IT, you need to learn you need to learn sales, you need to learn marketing, and but it does give you an understanding of what can be done. And also it's sometimes the execution can become faster because coming from IT, you want to you're normally clear about the needs analysis is it makes it a bit easier to make a needs analysis, but you need to learn these other parts, sales and marketing and the financial operations.
Okay, fantastic. Could you talk me through what would you say the key considerations are for successful adoption of a new process?
So in the way we do it and the way we want to do it, and it's different from process to process, but we mostly work with establishing the change. And what I mean is making sure the need of the change is understood in the organization, or for anyone that actually needs this process or that will use this process. It may sound weird, but not, well, it's not that weird because change is not always welcome. And most of the time, not most of the time, but sometimes a change can be felt like detrimental for some people. They're used to how it was. They were really, really fast doing it. And you're making maybe a UX change or to a system, and all of a sudden their work gets slower. You need to make them understand that it's not about just them, but the whole company as a whole. Maybe this UX change is helping out with onboarding. Onboarding is much smaller, which means that a lot of people can get up to speed much faster. So this is just one example, just establishing change and making sure that people understand this need to change. And we do this sometimes through inclusion, so including some of the people into the needs analysis, but also just through training. The second part is again training, and not doing a one solution works for everyone. So it's about documentation, videos, and live training, and do this as a mix. If you really want adoption to work, you need to adhere to how people actually learn best, and people are different. Some want to read their way into a process, and some people want it explained to them live.
How do you figure out, say if you do have a really big team, How do you figure out what works best for that person? Is it just getting to know them?
When it comes to the training part?
Yeah.
Asking. And just asking people, and we can ask them in bulk as well. So, if we prepare the material, the training sessions, the videos, and the documentation, everything is there, and just booking sessions. Some people will join into a live session. Some people won't, but posting this material on Confluence or any other document repository, and sharing the videos.
Right. Okay. Well,
it's a combination between pull and push, basically.
Okay.
Letting them take the decision.
Fab. Could you talk to me? I know you've probably touched on it, but what about long-term adoption?
Yeah. Good question, because this is forgotten sometimes, and I've had issues with this before as well. You do something big and you launch it, a lot of training, and then you forget to follow up. So, follow-ups. Basically, you need to follow up, and all of a sudden, if a big change is happening or a small change, it needs to be included in the onboarding of new people, because that's where the real long-term change is going to happen. When you onboard new people, they don't know any different. So whatever they learn when they start is their normality, basically. So it's training everyone, obviously, and onboarding people into getting people to understand this change, and raising that adoption, that initial adoption. But onboarding is super important, and follow up and iterate. If people feel that any issues that have happened before, when you launched a new process or a new setup or a new system, if people feel that change is happening, that issues are getting fixed, even smaller ones, the adoption tends to be better long term as well. So that's constant improvement, follow up and iterate, basically.
So make sure that the new people are involved early on, and then following up after. Brill. Could you talk to me about tech? Is there any tech that helps you in this adoption process?
So tech is a tool. So if the tool is good, the results are better if you know how to use it. But if you're really good with a knife, maybe you shouldn't have a sword. Basically, use the tool that you're best accustomed to, and learn new tools to do a good result. So tech is super important. The better the tool, the better result. But that's only if whoever is actually using the tool knows what they're doing. So, but do you mean if there's any specific tech that we use today?
So it could be anything that works for you, but I do like your sword and knife analogy. That was a good one. It doesn't matter if there isn't any. So do you go by that philosophy where if something's not broken, you don't need to fix it?
It depends. Yes. Mostly, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's mostly something that I use to prioritize. So if we need to prioritize, obviously we want to fix whatever is burning first, but also what can give the most impact to the organization. Sometimes a process might not be 100% perfect, but fixing it is not going to greatly improve the results of Scribe. Then that's not a priority.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so Mehdi, could you talk to me about data capture? Do you use any evidence to actually convince these people that this new process, these new changes will work, and you should try to at least implement them?
Yes. And it depends on the process. So some processes are about making it, for example, more efficient for an agent to do their work. And in those processes, we count clicks, for example. Like how many clicks does it take for you to do A, B, or C? and before the change of the process to the new change, and that we can actually inform people even before the change has happened, is that you used to do this and it took you 35 clicks, now you can do it with 7. So that's one. That's just counting how many clicks, and also reverting that into time and money, because it all becomes when you do this in bulk, it becomes really you really start to notice that those extra clicks can be quite expensive. So that's one. When it comes to systems, login is a very good thing that we follow up on when people are logged in, and what they're doing when they're logged in, how long the session is in the different systems that we use. So all of that is just something that we take in. We don't necessarily always inform everyone about it, but for example, to follow up on adoption for us, for example, we take a look at those data points to see if we need to do any extra push for a certain process or for a certain trade.
Okay, so it seems like you use data to figure out what your next action is, not necessarily using data to convince these people that they should change their processes. It's more about you having that direction.
Exactly. Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. So Mehdi, last question for you. If you was in a room full of business ops leaders, what's the one burning question that you would want an answer to, if there's any?
That's a difficult question. There are so many.
Yeah, it's loads. Yeah. If you had to pick one, what would you say?
So obviously, my question would be to have them listen to what I'm doing and what we're working on, and just asking them, what do I not know? What am I missing? That would be my question, which is super difficult for people to answer. But basically, that would be my question.